Hi, I'm Marek Mularczyk and welcome to another tutorial, this time on how to quickly get started in Adobe Premiere Pro, because people often ask about it. So when you open Premiere Pro, it doesn't matter which version you have. I'm currently on the Adobe Premiere Pro CC 2019, but any version will do. You'll be presented with this welcome screen. Now this welcome screen may look a bit different, so don't worry about it. You should be able to find this new project button, but even if you don't, you can just always go to File, New, and Project to create a new project. You always need to create a new project when you start working in Premiere. Then you give it a title. So let's say I'm going to call it Get Started. That's just a name for a title. Choose the location where you want to save it as well. So say I'm going to save it on a desktop. I've got a folder on the desktop called Video. So I'm going to save it here and just select this folder. But it could be anywhere you want. Okay. This is going to be your project file, which is going to contain all the information about everything you're doing in Premiere. So all the videos you import, all the animations you create, your timeline, everything. By default, whenever possible, Premiere will try to use the graphics card acceleration, GPU acceleration, so we're fine with that. You don't have to worry about any other settings for now. Just leave it as it is, just click OK. We'll just keep it simple for now. So click OK. This will launch Premiere interface. What you may want to check when you start is if you go to Window menu, and workspaces, make sure on editing workspace, which should be your default. If it's not, switch to editing workspace. And what you may also want to do is, once you're on editing workspace, you may want to reset it, just to make sure that we all have exactly the same layout. Now, when you start working with Premiere, once you made your new project, the next step is to start importing some files. So your project panel here in the bottom left corner will become active automatically. It's got this blue border around it. Okay. Now there's a couple of ways you can do. You can just double click in the empty area to start importing, or you can just go File, Import, or Control I on Windows, Command I on a Mac. And this will give you the import dialog box. And in here you navigate to the location where you have the content you want to import. So I've got some videos in here which I'm going to import. So say I'll select all of these using Control key or Command key on the Mac, and I'll click Open. So what happens now is Premiere creates a link to these videos on your computer. So make sure you don't move them, you don't delete them, you don't rename them, because Premiere is looking for specific files in specific location. Okay. The next step is going to be to create a new, what's called a sequence. So if you look to your right hand side, we've got this timeline and it says no sequences by default. Now I'm just keeping it simple for now. Okay, there's so much more to it, so just to get you started. So we imported some videos in here. Now I want to create a new sequence. So what you can do is you can go to File, New, and Sequence. Now when you create a new sequence, you need to decide what are the settings going to be for your sequence. So we've got a number of these different categories in here, which are just templates, just some presets. Most of the time, when you create sequences which are going to be Full HD 1920 by 1080 or Standard HD 1280 by 720, you'll be using the Digital SLR set category. Even if you didn't shoot on Digital SLR, don't worry about that. It's just because it gives you all these popular presets for 1080p Full HD with 24, 25, and 30 frames per second, and 720p with pretty much the same settings here. It's got 24, 20, 50, and 60. But don't worry about the frame rate too much. So let's say I want to create a video which is going to be Standard HD 720p, and I want it to be 24 frames per second, which is a standard frame rate for video on the web or motion picture movies in cinemas. They're just 24 frames per second by default. I'll make another video about frame rates. This is just to keep it simple. So let's say 24 frames per second, we're making video for the web, or we're making a video which is going to be end up on a DVD or Blu-ray, or we're just going to email it to friends and family. So 24 frames per second is perfect. Okay. At the bottom, you can name your sequence. So let's say I'm going to name it the same, Getting Started, something like that. By the way, if you want to change the frame rate, this is another reason why we're using Digital SLR preset, is you can go to Settings on the top in here, and you can change the time base to any frame rate you want in here. Okay, but I'll stick to 24 frames per second. So to keep it simple, I'll go back to Sequence Presets, 720p, 24 frames per second. So this is the 1280 by 720 square pixels, because all pixels are square in digital, and 24 frames per second, and I'll click OK. This makes our new sequence. Now we've got this new sequence in here, okay, and we're ready to start adding content to it. So the next step will be to go to your project panel, find the video you want to add. So let's say I'm going to start with this one, maybe this drone footage. So I'm going to select it, and just quickly we're going to drag it. So click, hold the mouse button down, and we'll drag it across, and we'll drop it here on this first track. The V1 is our first video layer, so we'll just drop it here on V1 and release. Now, if the video you add in has different settings to your sequence, you will get this dialog box. So what this could be, what might be happening here is this video may be different resolution or maybe different frame rate. For now, we want it to be 720p standard HD, 24 frames per second. So we're going to keep existing settings. We want to keep our settings. Okay. So now, if you look at the timeline, we've got this video here. If you want to zoom in on your timeline, you can use these circles on the sliders on the sides. If you prefer this method, you can just click and drag to slide in, to zoom in, or you can just use the plus on the keyboard. Plus to zoom in or minus to zoom out. So if I zoom in here and move cursor over the video, it says it's 26 seconds long and it's called drone track.mp4. Now, above the timeline, you have this program monitor, which shows you the output from the video. So we can just play it here. You can hit the play button. There's no sound on this video, so it's just a video. So it's playing. We can also pause it at any time, stop it. We can move this playhead, or we can scrap the playhead, as we call it. So we can just move this playhead forth and back, just like that. Okay. If we decide we don't want this video to start from the beginning, so let's say I don't want this part, I want to start maybe here, what we can do is park the playhead where you want this video to start. If you look at the tools in here, you should be on the selection tool automatically, and then we're going to move the cursor to the start of the video. Your cursor will change into this red arrow, and you click, hold and drag to the playhead. It's going to snap automatically, because the snapping is enabled by default in the timeline. The same at the end. If we wanted to finish earlier, we can just scrap to the end, say maybe here, just move the cursor to the end, click, hold, drag, and we're trimming this video here now. So now it's shorter. Now we've got a gap at the beginning, not a problem. We can just click on this video, hold and drag. It's going to snap again to the beginning, so it starts right from the beginning. If you decide you don't want to trim it at any time, you can just make it longer again. So I can go to the end, click and drag, and make it longer. Now this is the end because there's nothing left. There are no more frames in here. But we can make it longer at any time. The same at the beginning, so I could just move it, shift it, and then click, drag to make it longer again. So this is the entire video. I can just drag it back. Oops. It snapped to my playhead probably, so I'm going to move the playhead and try to move it a bit more. Here you go, that's fine. Now we're just looking at some basics. There are many editing tools. This is just how to quickly get you started in here. If you want another video, you can just drag a video, drag it and drop it. It's going to snap in here, so there's no gap in between these videos. And now we'll have these two videos, one after another, appear. There'll be just a simple straight cut between them. There we go. Okay. When you're playing and stopping a video, you can also use spacebar on a keyboard. So spacebar will play it and pause it, play it and pause it. Okay. Now let's quickly get it out of Premiere just for now. So I'll go to File menu and then Export and Media to get it out of Premiere. So we can create, say, an MP4 file, for example, so we can share it with friends, family, or on the web. The default should be H.264, which will produce an MP4 file. Perfect, that's what we want. And for us, match source, high bitrate is just great. We're not changing anything here, so just make sure it's on H.264, which is actually the name of a codec which creates MP4 files. But this is the most popular codec, so that's fine. You got different presets as well for different platforms. So say if we wanted to export it for YouTube, we can just choose YouTube 720p HD in this case, because our video, if you look on the source here, is 1280 by 720, 24 frames per second. And then at the bottom, we'll have the export button. It's also going to show you the estimated file size. You can see how long it's going to be. You can see a video here on the left as well. There we go. So I'm going to click export, and this is going to start exporting this video Oh, if you want to choose the location, you just click on the link where it says output name and it shows you where it's going. It's normally going to the same location where your project is. So mine will be on a desktop. So if I go to Explorer and go to desktop, and there's my video here, getting started. So if I open it, that's our 720p video, standard HD quality video. It's 41 seconds on mine. And that's just a quick video on how to get started with Premiere Pro. I'll be doing some more, but this is just a quick starter for you to get you quickly started, and there will be more coming. Thank you for watching. I'm Marek Mularczyk from marekmularczyk.com, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.